And then coming in at number 2, which is extremely, extremely controversial, I'm prepared for the backlash, but I don't even care, is the Hey guys, welcome back to Francesca's Books. My name's Francesca, these are my books, and here we talk about all things thriller books. And today we're talking about one of my favourite authors of all time, which is a very big statement, but it is Riley Sager. I am such a huge fan of this author. As soon as I started doing these author spotlight videos for you guys, he was like the first one I immediately thought of doing. I have done a few more now, and I will link those in the description, but I have only just finished Riley Sager's backlist to do this video for you because I've been putting off some of his older work for a long time because I just didn't want the Riley Sager journey to end, to be quite honest with you. So I literally just finished, the last book I read of his most recently was Final Girls, and now I thought it's time because I've finished. But stay tuned because literally today, like as in an hour before I was filming this, he's actually announced his next book, which is coming out in summer 2025, and it is set on a train, interestingly, and there is 6 people on this train, I think, and one of them gets unalived, or several of them get unalived, but it seems like a bit of a different spin on like Riley Sager's normal topics, which I don't think is a bad thing for this author whatsoever, and you're going to find out why in a minute. So since we last chatted, it has come to light, I am moving house again, and I bet you literally just click on every video and I'm like, woo, I'm moving house. It's not through choice. It's never through choice, you know, thinking about it. It's always circumstantial. However, the next house I am moving into is mine. I've bought it. Okay, so we are winning. So this means now that I actually can do what I want with all my books and in terms of a library and everything like that, which is a massive win for Fran, to be quite honest with you. So of course, when the time comes, I'll most likely do another unhaul video. I actually love those videos. I love doing them. I love like giving my books away for really cheap to you guys as well. I always put them on Vinted after I've done a big unhaul, usually for a £1 or £2, absolute max. So yeah, stay tuned for that as well. Okay, so let's dive into Riley Sager, the real reason you're here, let me tell you about it. So as of autumn 2024, Riley Sager has 8 books that are published, and I'm going to rank them from least favourite to most favourite. And actually coming in at number 8 is his most recent release, which I think is bonkers, but it is Middle of the Night. Now I don't know whether it's because I've read so much Riley Sager now that there is an expectation for me, so take that with a pinch of salt. I gave this 3.5, which is the lowest rating as an entire backlist, so that is going to say something for the quality of books that I'm about to talk about. So this follows Ethan, whose best friend Billy was kidnapped 30 years ago when they were both just having a sleepover in the tent in the garden. Everyone thinks that Ethan like should have known what happened and isn't remembering like what actually happened and is just being really standoffish with it, but he genuinely cannot remember. But 30 years later, he starts seeing Billy again. There is just signs everywhere that he is back, and Ethan just gets all these weird feelings, so he tries to like uncover actually what happened 30 years ago finally. So the concept sounds good. I was so excited to read it, but I don't know what it was. This book just fell flat for me. So the actual kidnapping took place in the garden of like one of their childhood homes, but it was set next to this like really creepy institute that nobody knew anything about, and like that aspect was literally just a red herring to be explored and just wasn't really. Like, it's just so frustratingly, like the police just didn't think to check about this creepy institute like around the boy's house, that there might be something there. Like, I don't know, it was like good vibes, as in like it was spooky, it was it'd be really good for like an autumn read, but I just wouldn't prioritize it, that's what I'll say. And also, some people have said this about Riley Sager books, but I've never thought it until I read Middle of the Night, and that is that there was maybe one too many twists. Now I love a plot twist, love it, but I do get where people are coming from with this one. There probably was just like maybe one too many. So next up, coming in at number 7 with 4 stars, is Survive the Night. I think most people would agree this is like further down most people's rankings of Riley Sager books, and that is because it is just so different to what he normally writes. He normally writes these sort of like really creepy, deep stories where the characters are like just have this incredible backstory and you know so much about them, and I just feel like this gives a completely different vibe. So it is basically like a road trip vibe, this one. So it follows Charlie, who accepts a ride home from the university that she's staying at to like her hometown with this guy who she's never met. The guy who ends up driving them, Josh, just puts an advert out like, I'm driving back, if anyone wants a lift, like you want a car share, whatever, like definitely like message me. So she thinks, well, brilliant idea, like I don't have to do the trip on my own now. It's not until she like actually gets in the car on this like hour-long trip that she realizes like she knows nothing about him, and also her best friend was unalived. Of course she was, it's a thriller book. So she's now like really scared that he may be like the campus killer. I feel like this one would be just really good if you wanted something like super light to read, almost like a holiday read but thriller, if that makes sense. That would be perfect for that. And it was a really good book, like I don't not like it, it's just lower down in the ranking. I really do just adore how easy this author's books are to read. Like, you just pick it up and you don't even realise you're reading. Like, I actually don't know any other author like this. Then coming in at number 6, probably controversially, is Lock Every Door. Now, this is a really, really popular Riley Sager book, but yeah, this ranks quite low. I was debating putting it behind Survive the Night, to be honest, but we're gonna stick with number 6. So this follows our main character, Jules, and she stumbles upon this opportunity to live in this like incredible building in Manhattan, but there's like a few rules. But in return, she doesn't pay rent and gets paid to live there. So she's like, surely this is too good to be true. And since it's a thriller book, of course it's too good to be true. So all these like really creepy things start happening, as you can imagine. She gets deeper and deeper into this like building, into the lives of everything and everything that's going on around her. And she's just super sus, gets more creeped out by the day. And then it's just bonkers after that. I'm not gonna lie, I did not get this plot twist, and I don't think anybody would ever get this plot twist. It's unguessable, like actually unguessable. It's that bizarre. I think that was one of the reasons why I didn't love it. It didn't really have like a rational explanation, but I've also never seen this kind of twist been done. So if you're after something different, I would probably say give this one a go. As well, I do feel like this one was a little bit slower at times, which isn't always a bad thing, but in this case, I think it probably was. So moving on to another 5-star and a book that I actually read just this summer, and it is The Last Time I Lied. This is like a summer camp thriller, and I read it on holiday, and it was the perfect read. Super easy to read, great summer vibes, but still being a thriller. So 15 years ago, Emma attended this like summer camp for like quite privileged kids. She was put in this like lodge with 3 other girls who were a bit older than her, and over her time at the lodge, at the camp, the other 3 girls went missing. And then now 15 years later, the woman that owns the camp rang her and was like, please can you come back and be a counsellor? And she's like, immediately no, but also maybe I could like actually just find out what happened to them. But as soon as she gets there, as you can imagine, it starts being really creepy again. She starts seeing like all the like weird, suspicious characters that she knew a few years ago, and yeah, she's just not in a good place with it. So then this is told in a dual timeline, so you find out what happened to her 15 years ago and what happened in the current present timeline, like at the same time, which I think worked really, really well. Also, one of the main characters in this was called Francesca, so I was having a good time. So again, this wasn't my favorite by this author, but I just had a brilliant time. Like, it was an easy full start, really good thriller book, like just a great read all round, and a really good plot twist, loads of emotion conveyed through the characters. Definitely enjoyable. I feel like the only reason this one didn't deserve a 4.5 or a 5 is for a similar reason as at Middle of the Night. There was this asylum that just wasn't fully delved into. So maybe it is that Riley Sager just wants to set his stories like by these like really creepy places that are usually abandoned, and maybe that's just what builds the tension. But I definitely recommend it. Then next up was my most recent read by this author, and the one that I've been putting off. I've also intentionally read it in autumn, and of course it is Final Girls. So this follows our main character Quincy. She lives in Manhattan, and she is indeed a final girl. She survived like this insane massacre like 10 years ago, but she's moved past it. She's made peace with it. She's in a really good place. She lives with her boyfriend in a nice flat and has a good job and works and bakes and blah blah blah. She's good. Another final girl from a similar time period is found unalived. So from that point, you kind of delve back a bit into Quincy's past, and it turns out there is her, the woman that has also been found unalived, and another woman called Sam, who are all these final girls, and the media kind of gave them that label and everything that connotes from it. So Sam, the other final girl, comes into Quincy's life, and they decide they're going to try and like find out what happened to Lisa, the woman that was unalived, but things just kind of go crazy after that. Like, I thought I knew where this book was going, but it just took so many like sharp right-hand turns. I don't know. However, I absolutely loved it. I love this book. I gave it a 4.5, and when I checked on Goodreads after, this book easily has the lowest ratings and the most negative reviews. The main like comments being that it was slow, and I do think it was slightly on the slower side compared to some of Riley Sager's like other work, but I definitely wouldn't class it as slow. I mean, it wasn't super fast paced, but not something that I would like actively comment on, if you know what I mean. I feel like there's so many like creepy and shocking moments in this book that you can't really be bored. I really enjoyed it. There was also a part about 40% of the way through, and I was literally just like, damn Quincy, like calm the deck down. That kind of reaction doesn't normally come out of me. I actually did read this as part of like an autumn spooky reading vlog, so I will pop the link up there if you want to go and check out my live reaction to reading that book and some other thriller books that are autumn themed as well. But until then, we'll continue on Riley Sager. So coming in at number 3, and easily the best read for October in any year, It's Home Before Dark. I gave this book 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. So this follows Maggie, who goes back to restore her childhood home that they family fled 25 years ago because of this like supposed paranormal account that her father wrote about. After her father passes away, Dead Dad Club vibes. She inherits the house, obviously, and then she goes back to like try and find out whether like what her dad was saying was true or not. Like she tries to actually investigate because she's been labeled this like survivor all these years, but she can't really remember what happened. So when people ask me about this book, they go, is it paranormal? Isn't it paranormal? I need to know because I need to know. I don't want to read something paranormal. But the problem with that is if I tell you that, then it's going to ruin the plot, because the whole plot is basically, is this paranormal or not? So if I tell you that you're just not going to have as much of a good time, but I can guarantee you that if you were a thriller reader, like you will enjoy this. Like you will. I can't really say any more than that. The plot of this book, the pacing of this book, and the characters in this book, all 3 of the major pillars, were just absolutely spot on. Like I finished it and I was like, I cannot physically rate that less than a 5. It was just amazing. And at the time as well, I remember I was reading a couple of books because I normally do have 1 physical and 1 Kindle book on the go at all times. And I remember putting everything else down that I was reading or doing to just finish this. It was really, really good. This is one of the only books as well that I have genuinely felt myself kind of like looking over my shoulder at, or like when you're reading in the dark, kind of like looking around to be cautious. And like even reading full-on horror books hasn't really inflicted that on me, but it's not scary, so don't be scared. And then coming in at number 2, which is extremely controversial, I'm prepared for the backlash, but I don't even care, is The House Across the Lake. So this follows a widowed actress who goes to this lakeside to like get some space, and she meets another woman there who is also an actress. So she befriends her and they create this like incredible friendship, and I feel like that is part of the reason why I loved this book so much. Like the female friendship in it was, but basically then the friend disappears. That's not a spoiler, by the way, that happens very, very early on. So our main character Casey goes on to like investigate her disappearance, but it's just a really, really good time. Like I could so vividly like picture this lake. I really could. I didn't actually picture it like this, but the way I did, it was so brilliant. I would never have guessed this plot twist, and I was a massive fan of this plot twist. It is very, very Marmite, the plot twist, I won't lie. So you may read it and then come back to me and be like, but this is my reviews, my opinion, and it's definitely sticking at the number 2 position. And finally, the best Riley Sager book that I have read, and it would take so much for any book ever to top this, is The Only One Left. This was easily in my top 3 books of last year. It just absolutely, it just blew me away, basically. It was just, you know when you're thinking like, what would I actually want from like a good time read? This. So it's set in the 80s, Win, and it follows this care worker Kit, and she goes to care for this like woman called Lenora Hope, who's a suspected unaliver, but Kit doesn't really have a great reputation herself, so she doesn't really have a choice. Like she has to go and care for this woman or she won't be given like another care job. So she goes in as this home help to this super creepy like house where Lenora has all these staff working for her as well, and she starts to think like, I think Lenora is like a lot more clued up than she actually is. So she's paralyzed but can move like one hand or like one finger. So she wants to tell Kit like all about how she's not this serial unaliver, or like just tell her story basically. So she has to like type it super slow, but if anyone else in the house knew that she was doing that, there would be like massive consequences. So kind of imagine Verity with the like paralyzed aspect and you're not really sure what to believe, crossed with like 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, of this like older, really in-depth woman wanting to tell her story, and you have this. It was just absolutely fantastic. Everything just tied together so well. There was amazing characters, amazing plot twists. Like I just don't know what more you could possibly want from a thriller book than The Only One Left. I really don't. It had all the creepy vibes and it was fantastic. I rated it 5 star. It's a god tier book for me. It's a 6 star read. There isn't many of them, but this is one of them. So that is all 8 of Riley Sager's books ranked. As I mentioned, he is literally one of my favourite authors ever. So it's no surprise that these all rate really highly. I'll pop a couple of links in the description for if you do want to go and check out any of Riley Sager's books. Some of them are on Kindle Unlimited, so I'll pop the link down there for that as well. And if there are any other authors that you want to see like this style of video for, definitely let me know, and I cannot wait to see you guys next time.